Hi, good morning, everyone, and I'm very glad to say hi to all my friends in Republic of Moldavia and your community. Yeah, today I want to share with you some of my concerns regarding what I call the disruption of truth and also the issues that the digital marketing ecosystem globally is facing because of the disruption that is happening all around the world. Now, more than ever, due to this pandemic, we start to realize how important the truth is and why we have to fight for having a healthy information system, and why the digital marketing ecosystem, agencies, clients, publishers need to be aware of the fact that the quarterly numbers and the profit numbers are not everything, and we need to act responsibly in the digital ecosystem entirely. So yeah, my presentation will try to explain a little bit how wrong what's going on actually is, and some of the solutions I see to overcome this unfortunate situation. So I hope you hear me.
We hear you, but we don't see the presentation. If you share,
because I didn't start to share it. So
okay, cool.
I hope you see it now.
Yes, it's all good.
Okay. So the title of my presentation is The Disruption of Truth, and why I do think that the global digital marketing ecosystem needs a reboot. We have clickbait, we have fake news, we have online fraud, we have manipulation, we have mystification, we have deepfakes. So how did we end up here, and why? The internet is wrong. Some say the internet destroys democracy, say others. There is a debatable aspect, but this is also fake news in my opinion, because actually there is nothing new here, and secondly, it's hardly a more wrongful expression that the virtual world, because everything that we are naming now, we are calling now being virtual, is as real as it gets. So that's why I'm saying welcome to reality, because clickbait is just a name for exaggerated headlines meant to sell more. Nothing new. Also, fake news is a fancy, trendy, cool name for a lie, just like the old gossip newspapers, apparently harmless. Also, manipulation has always been here. It is one of the oldest instruments for gaining global influence and power, for example. In the 80s, for example, the KGB used to blame the proliferation of AIDS on the US as a biological weapon in order to kill all the gay people. And we see today that also US is accusing China for spreading the virus. So it's a funny situation. Anyway, fake ads is the middle name of dishonest sellers residing now online. We are seeing different networks, some from Russia, some from Ukraine, for all over the world, that are just pushing online fake advertising. This is a new thing to complete the whole ecosystem. We have fake news now, fake ads also. Internet fraud is just a more sophisticated name to call the digitalized pocket thieves, maybe. Okay, maybe I will skip this slide. Deepfakes, that's new maybe, but is new just as a form of expression and a form of execution, is not new as a substance. What changed is the fact that nowadays we just have more efficient and sophisticated tools. And yet what is new? First, for the first time in the human history, there are more people connected directly in real time with no intermediary compared to the entire population of the planet. From the year, for example, I was born, and I would not make this revelation. Apparently, people are interested about my date of birth. Google it, and you will find out when the planet has only 4.5 billion inhabitants. So it's like the whole population of the planet is connected, and maybe with Elon Musk's help and Amazon and so on and so forth, we will see that happening for all the 7.7 billion people on Earth being connected. This is a major change in human history. Also new is the huge quantity of data that is the consequence of this fact. So we are producing 2.5 quintillions of bytes of data daily, and this is a lot. You can check it, you can Google it and see what that means. And a very small portion of this data is actually analyzed. Less than 1%, studies are saying. We are having our phones full of pictures, for example. Those are also data. It's also the first time in the human history when we have in our pocket a computer stronger than the combined power of the entire computing system that put the man on the moon. And saying is more powerful is an euphemism, if you want. In terms of memory, it's 1 million times more powerful. To be accurate, there is the right comparison to a modest 4 gigabytes phone. So if you can check your phone now and see how much computational power do you have in your pocket, and use it right. And we are using it right, doing selfies and stuff. Anyway, in a short recap, first, we have this always on connectivity. Second, we are all big data producers, and we have to remember that we have this responsibility. And third, we have this huge computational power in our pockets. So all those three elements combined are producing what we are calling disruption. To be more accurate, disruptive innovation. And it's not only about media. It's not about the way we are getting our news, the way we are running our ads, if we are brands. It's about life. It's not about business anymore only. It's about the essence of life, if you want. If you're looking at this graph, you will see that after all those dating apps were launched and all the dating websites were launched, basically people are starting new families, and they are building their future based on technology. So working place is not a thing anymore. Stay online or go to a bar. You have better chances to find your special one. Anyway, talking about love and how tech is changing our lives and decisions, and also our political views, maybe we're apparently entering a new stage of our evolution. We can use now tech and digital manipulation to solve also our personal issues with our partner. And for the fun, I will leave you 1 minute with a nice movie. Meet the Spinner.
Articles presented to a pre-chosen specific individual on the websites he or she usually visits in order to subconsciously seed a message in their minds. That person, the target, is exposed to hundreds of items strategically placed as editorial content, repeating the same message over and over and over again. Whether it is propose marriage, quit smoking, initiate sex, or stop riding motorcycles. How does it work? The basic package offers a set of 10 different articles presented to the target 180 times over a 3-month period. The articles, along with their eye-catching headlines, are chosen by a group of psychologists in order to influence the target on a subconscious level. The spinner sends you an innocent-looking link. The link is sent to the target via text message. When the target presses the link, a cookie connected to the link attaches itself to the target's phone. From this point, the target will be strategically bombarded with articles and media specified for him or her. The most requested tailor-made campaign is Settle Outside of Court, which has now been added as a preset campaign, and Get Back with Your Ex. If you're interested in a campaign tailor-made for your specific messages and goals, go to www.thespinner.net.
Okay, so this is an example that might be funny for some or scary for others, and I can assure you that is scary for some. I was recently confronted with cases of online harassment. People that are familiar with the way the online tools are working can use those tools also to harass people, to obtain better divorce deals, and so on and so forth. Sounds scary maybe, but this is true. I was confronted with such cases recently here in my home country in Romania. So, well, again, if that's not disruptive, I don't know what is disruptive. Well, the journalism, the news, and the media industry in general, the digital marketing ecosystem made no exception. This is how the numbers look. Here is the evolution of the online content consumption and the relation between printed press and online media in time. I was such a visionary that I've jumped from print to TV and to online precisely when the online started riding this wave. Mid 10 15 years ago. Well, the downside of thinking about you, of being smart, is that you can also be really stupid. So I've experienced that. I didn't understood in the right time the unfortunate impact that the global tech will have on our business model. I mean, in the media industry, and here is the result. Traditional journalists today, so the verified truth published and distributed by an ethical and professional, based on an ethical and professional criteria, fell for a victim of the technological boom. So the truth, as the result of a professional process, was disrupted by technology, and it will remain, and it is remaining now with empty pockets. So for any new dollar that is invested online, only 20 cents are distributed by the all media outlets are out there. Okay, all the new tools we have today amplified with the elements I've mentioned, they are provoking a very interesting global trend. Any kind of information is distributed, and I repeat, information, because when I say that, I don't necessarily mean real information. Okay, so nuts are no longer isolated. Crazy people can find each other fast enough to validate, to revalidate, and consolidate their opinions in echo chambers so that they become capable of generating trends. Okay, the Flat Earth Society members all around the globe is also funny and sad in the same time. But there are also extremists, there are also dangers out there that are building a fan base based on connectivity, on computational power, and non-professional dissemination of information, let's say. Okay, and to make it even more complicated, Yuval Noah Harari identifies this as our most important attribute: the capacity to create, believe, and amplify stories is a feature. Basically, it's not a bug; it's a feature that managed to keep us together and to overcome as humanity. So is in our blood. Moreover, since ancient times, our DNA collected the info that the bad news can be fatal. So the bad news that you might have missed in the Paleolithic, let's say, might have costed your life. A good news in exchange could have meant missing a good meal, for example, at the most. That's why all the news outlets are dominated by the idea that if it bleeds, it leads. Okay, so biologically, our brains are wired for a pessimist bias, which urges us to pay more attention to negative news. And that's why media outlets are also tempted to push more the bad news. This is also a business model. Okay, it is in our DNA because the truth is boring, as Bukowski rightly said. Never let the truth stay in the way of a good story. He used to joke Mark Twain, but he was a fictional writer, so he has this excuse. I don't know what to say about the other Mark. He's he's having a slightly different opinion sometimes. This is not an actual quote; it's a joke. Anyway, the main idea is that bad news and fake news they have a perfect match. Okay, so my point is, don't just blame the internet giants and technology, because it's not them only, it's us. The internet is only an accelerator. The internet is an unparalleled amplifier of all that means being human, both with good and bad. That's why we are in this pretty shitty situation. Okay, focusing now on media, on journalism, and whatever the concept of truth means today. What happened fundamentally? In short, in my opinion, the launch, the growth, and the consolidation of the Google and Facebook duopoly democratized the access to the production and distribution of content, okay, as well as to the financing instruments, the monetization of traffic and audiences, which generates data, those money. So the deal for the traditional media outlets is not very attractive. They have most of the costs and the risks and the law trials with corrupted people that are suing them and so forth. And the global platforms are holding the biggest part of the revenues, as I showed you earlier, a lot of revenues. And if you want to have an idea how much this means, well, by the time I will have finished this presentation, Google will cash in around 7.5 million US dollars. Facebook a little bit less. The early revenue is 6-point-something million US dollars. So I don't know, 3 million, not that big. To have even a better idea, the total advertising market in Romania nowadays supposed to be, because now with the crisis we don't know anymore, 500 million. And the total time for Google and Facebook to reach the total volume of the Romanian advertising market is 26 hours. So this is where we are. Most of the digital ads you see now online are the result of the automation. Okay, so most of the digital ads you see are transactioned nowadays by robots, not humans. There's a slim human intervention, which usually comes post factum. That's why we see these missing ads, and they are running, and at some point maybe they are blocked. And this is wrong. This is why I think the digital marketing ecosystem, it is simply wrong today and needs to be fixed. Same thing happens as far as the news concept is concerned. We seem to have lost that ethical, moral decision-making filter of what is and what is not real information. Now, we are calling newsfeed a strange blend between, I know, our neighbors' posts, photos with kids, ex-wives, links to, I know, dubious news and fishy websites, and from time to time real and accurate information. But in order to realize what is a real information, you need education, and you need the right information to know what is real news. Okay, this is what has been named as a news feed. And I really want to believe that the naming came out of ignorance, not bad intentions or something. Because let's remember what is a piece of news actually. So to me, it's at least three things. One is a fact-checked information, also checkable out of a minimum 2 independent sources, ideally 3, but I'm happy with 2. Secondly, an information distributed by a media institution, a legal entity, a company that assumes moral and legal responsibility over the information. And third, an information filtered by a code of ethics, or at least validated by an editorial structure that has the ability and the obligation to verify this information. Making news is a profession with rules and ethics behind. I think we need to remember that. To me, it's the same thing that like, I know, producing and selling food or drugs, medication. I know, does the truth seem less important in our society than, I know, polluting the air or the water or the food? In my opinion, I don't think so. I think it's time that we are getting ourselves together and admit that the ability to produce the truth is a social responsibility. and it is the attribute of a profession. Just as we obey and respect the law, which also fights for the truth, let's remember that, we should learn to respect again professional, and I underline professional journalism. When I call for respect, I am addressing also the global giants. Their notion of respect is currently more theoretical than practical, because the entire Google and Facebook, and not only, I know in Russia maybe it's Yandex or others, the whole ecosystem is based on attracting and processing data and attention, and this is a business model that is somehow colliding with what I explained before. Okay, data is the new oil, they say, and what a surprise. If we take a look at the stock market index in the last 10 years, this is not a metaphor anymore. We produce with every click, with every photo for cats and dogs, and with each share, like or comment, the unrefined raw oil, okay? They refine it and they're selling it with a huge profit margin and with costs we cannot evaluate today. Moreover, and this is important, through the monetizing instruments that they have developed, the big tech players are helping the amplification and even the financing of this phenomenon. And this is new. Fake news is not new. Fake news as a business model, this is new. And we have to fight against this. The filters of Google and the display network, for example, or even Facebook audience network, when they accept a new website in the system, are superficial, in my opinion. You don't need to be a legal entity. You are not required for a legal headquarter or for even a minimum amount of employees. You can cash in the advertising money in whatever account you're indicating, and this is, in my opinion, not right. And let me give you an example. Here is a fake news with two girls that are supposedly still alive. This is a fabricated piece of news that a few weeks ago generated a lot of traffic here in Romania. And let's count together how many brands are supporting this. So Regina Maria, Orange, I know who this is. I know Chopard, you can see it here. I know Triama, who that is. You have Huawei. Anyway, you got the point. There are a lot of ads. So with a page like this, generating hundreds of thousands of page impressions and millions of ad impressions, a publisher can generate 800 euros a day. 800 euros a day for one piece of article with a fake news, okay, that can be deleted after 2 days of being published. This is how wrong the actual ecosystem is working. So I really hope as an industry we can find ways to make the truth great again. Okay, so before the voices of those who demand political intervention in this matter, we are seeing that today in Romania, unfortunately, during the pandemics, the government are just closing websites, and this is pretty dangerous. But I can't be very critical since those websites are really shitty. Okay, so before the voices of those who demand strict control, I think the whole marketing ecosystem, agencies, clients, together with the global giants and publishers, they can do stuff. And to be constructive, here are some simple measures I do think they can do. Okay, first one, have you ever heard of fake bank accounts? You haven't? Why? Because when you open up a bank account, unlike a Facebook ad account or Google ad account, you must prove that you're a serious company, that you exist, that you have an administrator, and so on and so forth. So what if when you're opening up an open market ad account, you are required to prove that you're honest, or at least you're trying to be, or you're a perfectly functional legal entity, and so on and so forth. Secondly, I think it's crucial to separate the professional news from the bluffs. Those kinds of content that seems produced by weird companies or inexistent brands or unverifiable individuals. So let's make the newsfeed great again and use some professional help for that. Why not invest a little in education of the public as to know how they can identify and how to report a fake news or a fake ad? Fake advertising is something that people are not talking yet about too much, but this is a thing, and I think this needs to be also addressed. A few months ago, Mark Zuckerberg delivered a speech at Georgetown University showing his concern about what he called then the erosion of truth. Just as the usual, his defense is the illusion that we can witness censorship, but nobody is asking Facebook or Google or whoever else to apply censorship, but to clean the air and make Facebook and all this open market ecosystem the place that we all once loved. Anyway, funny enough, 7 months and the pandemic later, Zuck seems to have a different opinion now. So he announced the other day this content curation committee. I don't know what to say. Now the pandemic just underlines something that was going on before, less visible. And personally, I don't think this is a solution, but it is a good intention at least, and a good PR move for sure. My kind request for everybody in the industry is to cut the bullshit and to address the problem where the problem it is generated. So that's why I call for a reboot of this digital marketing ecosystem as a whole. And I think open discussions like this one can contribute to for this to happen. And now maybe a surprising disclaimer. Despite everything I said in the last 30 minutes, I have a deep respect for Google and Facebook, for Amazon, Apple, Tencent, Yandex, you name it, and all big guys in tech. I consider all of them among the most innovative companies that humans ever created. I don't underestimate the positive impact of the globalization of technology and the access to technology and so on and so forth. My kind request or hope, if you want, is that those companies can be disruptive also for a better world, not only for the sake of profits. And I think we must work together and convince them and make the truth what the truth actually is. Okay, We are talking about facts. An apple is an apple, and a banana, it's a banana. There is nothing debatable here.
This is an apple. Some people might try to tell you that it's a banana. They might scream banana, banana, banana over and over and over again. They might put banana in all caps. You might even start to believe that this is a banana. But it's not. This is an apple.
So that was my presentation. Thank you, and remind don't forget that the truth is a beautiful thing, and there are professionals that can verify and disseminate this truth, even if this hurts from time to time. If you have any questions or whatever, you can email me. My address is really simple to be remembered.